Yes. Welcome students to lecture number 1 of chapter number 3, subject SS standard 9 English medium. So far we have completed 2 chapters, chapter number 1 rise of British rule in India and chapter number 2 First World War and Russian Revolution. This chapter is a continuation of the second chapter. In this chapter we will study very similar things that we studied in chapter number 2. We will study the cause and effect of World War II. We will study what happened after World War I got over in 1918, right. So, without further ado, without wasting too much time on introduction, we will directly see that how each and every nation tried to set peace, how each and every nation failed horribly in establishing peace in the world. We saw that in chapter number 2 at the end, that League of Nations was established by the efforts of Woodrow Wilson, American president, and many nations joined the League of Nations, but it had failed terribly in establishing peace over the world. It failed horribly in connecting all the countries and making them understand that World War I was a very serious issue and the world doesn't need World War II, because each and every nation suffered a massive loss of infrastructure as well as man and material, soldiers as well, civilians as well. The first point that you have in chapter number 3, movement towards a new world. It is a new world, but it is actually a new world war rather than new world. Right? See, Allied nations won World War I, Axis nations were defeated. So, obviously, there will be a kind of revenge, there will be a kind of jealousy, revenge, enmity, and among also winning nations, because see, when you win something, it means you get something. Right? Imagine winning 100 rupees and you have 4 friends, and if you ignore one friend, then what will happen? Obviously, that friend will be jealous, that friend will be angry, he will have a loss of trust because he was ultimately a part of your team, but you completely ignore him. And that is what is happening in Italy. That is what is happening in Italy. We saw that Italy was a Axis nation, but during the World War I, it shifted to Allied nations. So, USA, Italy, right, then Britain were on Allied nations. But Italy won the World War I. Yes? Yes, Italy was on the winning side, that is sure, that is given in your textbook, chapter number 3. But there are so many unjust things happening with Italy that which gave a rise to a very national leader of very weird and strong mindset, of very violent mindset. His name was Benito Mussolini. He was just like Hitler, but he was a Hitler for Italy. Hitler was for Germany, Nazi party, whereas Benito Mussolini was a Hitler for Italy. Even though Italy won the First World War, Italy had won the First World War, it was completely ignored when the gains of the war were distributed. Right? When the world was distributing their winning, Italy was completely ignored. And Italy had incurred a massive expenditure. Right? It had lost so much infrastructure, so much money, and people said what? That our government is responsible for this. Our government, Italian government is responsible for this. So, there was a mistrust towards any government, and whenever you find no confidence towards government, then there will be a very huge up and down in the governmental and the political scenario. So, such simple things yet very complicated things happened with Italy. We will just see this major point of fascism in Italy, very important to understand, but very easy to understand rather. What happened with Italy was, in World War I, even though Italy was on the winning side, even though Italy won World War I, it incurred a massive expenditure of $12 billion of that time. $12 billion. Expenditure એટલે ખર્ચ. Expenditure means ખર્ચ થયો. Lost life of 6 lakh soldiers. That is more than I think Pakistan's army. That much lives had been lost of Italian soldiers. So, first point itself is a very grim, serious and dangerous point for the world, that Italy had incurred a massive loss of $12 billion and had lost the lives of 6 lakh soldiers, right? 600,000 soldiers. Then other nations took over the territories. Other nations which were the winners in World War I along with Italy, they took over the territories and ignored Italy. Italy was angry and hurt, right? That, for example, I give you a very simple and very pathetic example for this. I already gave you in this lecture itself that there are 4 people and they have 1000 rupees, and if you completely ignore that fourth person, and the 3 people only take all the money of 1000 rupees, so 333.300, right, it will go on, but the 4th person is completely ignored. It should be 250 rupees per person, but instead there are 333.33 rupees for 3 persons and 4th person is ignored. That is what was happening with Italy. Obviously the 4th person will be hurt, angry, right? And Italy was facing the same situation. So people did not have any trust in the government. People thought that the government is very weak, government cannot do anything. People blamed its government and wanted to avenge the humiliation. Avenge means to take revenge. You are very familiar, and I think majority of you would have seen the movie Avengers, and especially the last part. Avengers means to take revenge, to make something right of the wrong things that were done on you or done to you, right? To avenge the humiliation. Why it was a humiliation? Right? Because Italy, even though was a winning nation, did not get anything. It was completely ignored. It was really very hurt and angry. Right. So first 3 points are absolutely clear. Benito Mussolini launched the fascist party. So this situation, this period gave rise to one such person. And obviously, when the government falls, others are waiting for the chance to take over that particular government. Right. So Benito Mussolini was one such person who took the opportunity, and he became the public leader. He became the national leader by giving speeches and by convincing people of Italy that we should fight against other nations because we have not received what we were meant to receive. We have lost everything even though we have won the war. We have lost 6 lakh soldiers, we have incurred a loss of $12 billion, and yet we are not getting anything. Our other partners, our other countries are taking everything from us. What will we get? One such person provoked the citizens, भड़काया लोगों को, देश के लोगों को, और लोग उसके साथ चले गए. And when one person is followed by a massive nation, then obviously that person will come in the government. So Benito Mussolini launched the fascist party. He adopted. Now there are some points that you have to remember rather than understand. This all was an understanding part. These all things are technical parts that you have to remember. He adopted a bundle of sticks and X as a symbol of his party. हर कोई पार्टी का एक symbol होता है, right? Even this is a symbol of party. This is a symbol of party, right? So bundle of sticks and X was the symbol of his party. Now fascism. We are studying about fascism in Italy. Fascism word comes from Latin word fascismo, which means absolute control of the state over all the things. Absolute control of the state. In your book, the word is written state. State means state government. State means central government as well here. Whoever is in the power will have absolute control over people, over production, over economy, and over all the decisions, military as well. And that is called autocracy. Right? Hitler was one autocrat, tyrant. Benito Mussolini was one such autocrat for Italy, and whatever Mussolini says, the military, the army, the people, the citizens, the country has to do. Right? So Benito Mussolini was one such figure, and this figure was given rise by the world itself because the world completely ignored Italy. So Benito Mussolini launched the fascist party. Fascist word comes from fascismo, which means absolute control over all the things. No democracy, nothing. You don't have any rights. Whatever the government says, you have to do, because absolute control means total control. And what did he do? That is main thing. After coming to the party, after joining the party, after creating the party which is known as Fascist Party of Italy, what did Mussolini do? Mussolini gave military training to his party volunteers, and they wore a black uniform. Right? Black is a symbol of revenge, avenge, protest. Black ultimately is a symbol of protest, right? So he gave military training to his party volunteers that you don't only have to fight for elections, but you also have to fight for the country. You be prepared for engaging in war with other countries. So you can see that the seeds of World War II are already sown by Italy, right? Even though World War I took place, it got over after 4.5 years, 5 years, even though League of Nations was established, but it failed horribly, and already the war had begun. A new war, even devastating war had already begun. After coming to the power, he did what? He captured Rhode Island and Dodecanese Islands from Turkey. Ultimately, coming in power is about the same thing. This is called expansionism. When you try to expand your territories of other countries without legal permission, it means you are giving rise to a particular war. Right? So, he captured Rhodes Island and Dodecanese Island from Turkey. So, now you can see his intentions. His intentions are absolutely clear, damn clear, that he wants to avenge Italy from the humiliation of World War I. He wants to take away other territories because he did not get anything. Italy received nothing, and all the territories where all the profit was distributed among other countries, Italy was ignored. Right? So, it captured first of all Rhodes and Dodecanese Islands. He also won Albania, Abyssinia and Fiume Port in 1924. So, the seeds for World War II, which took place in 1939 till 1944-45, right? They were sown 20 years before, 20 years ago. He also snapped means cancelled, broke all ties, relationships with the League of Nations. Italy said that we don't need you. League of Nations is useless for us. So, he snapped, cancelled, broke all the ties with the League of Nations. Which country? Italy. We are talking about fascism in Italy, right? So, this is the first lecture of chapter number 3, standard 9 English medium essays, where we are going deep into world wars, and we are going deep on how 20th century took place in terms of amalgamation of other countries, nations and all the wars that took place in the 20th century, right? So, in this lecture you have studied how was the world after World War I. Even though many nations had lost, obviously, right? So, they wanted revenge. That is quite a common thing. But nations which had won World War I, even they were not happy because of so many discrepancies, so many discriminations done on the various bases, right? The distribution, the gains were not equally divided among people. And this lecture is all about what will happen. You can think that this is just one country, Italy. Then you will study about Germany, you will study about Japan, and how all such minute things led to the World War II. The seeds are sown before 20 years. Before 15 to 20 years, the seeds for World War II had already been sown. So, you can understand that League of Nations was established to settle peace, to establish peace in the world, but it failed terribly, it failed miserably. Why? Because there was no proper leadership, the aims were very unclear, and it was highly discriminating against other nations. So, in this lecture you just look at all these points are given in your textbook, but in paragraph form you will have to write these points, you will have to write this answer in points. You can use digest for standard 9, you can also use our textbook, you can also use the board that I have written, right? Depends on you. You do not have to send me regular homework in Google Classrooms, but keep on maintaining your classwork. Which answers you have to write? Those answers which are given at the end of your textbook, chapter rather than textbook. When chapter number 3 gets over, there will be certain exercise, answer in short, answer in brief, answer in detail, MCQs, true or false or something like that. Only write those answers for standard 9. Alright, just have a look at till here.